All right, good morning traders. Welcome to the All Markets webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. We'll go through the order flow using Bookmap on any market that this is Bruce at Bookmap that we can connect to that you prefer. That's what we're here for, and really understand at a much deeper level how these markets work, what Bookmap is showing you, and how to use it to get an edge by understanding the behavior in the auction process of the participants. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, let's jump in here, guys, and take a look. We just had some data. As you can see here, the pulling of liquidity around these areas, and we just had on Fridays we have the U of M consumer sentiment numbers, and we also had existing home sales as well. So a couple of different releases here. Anyway, how the markets feel about it? Well, you can see the initial move to the upside, and now it's down to the downside. One of the things to note very quickly here, looking at the order flow and how to engage or understand these markets, is right in front of us. Here's the release. Here's the knee-jerk reaction. It goes up. Oops, hold on a minute. It goes up like this here. Okay, from this range. Here's our breakout. And then this area here is now an interesting pivot point. You see sellers back down below. Now look at the buyers back up above. Okay, so it's prices all over the place, but this area right here is the important pivot at this 48.24 in the S&P E-mini. And we've come up back to the top of this range in here, and you can see we're back to the pivot here. Now, what we want to understand for this very small move in here, do we get buyers up in this area here to try to come back up here? Let's see. There's a little bit. Looking for more now, and let's see if they can break this pivot and come back up to maybe this area up in here. So up into 29 or 30. Okay, we're back up to the top of the range now. We just saw that, and we're looking for it in here. Now we're looking for it to break it, okay, and come up and test the tops of this area in here, somewhere around this 29 to 30 area. Okay, so a very quick move and or very quick setup in here, or looking at something very specific due to the order flow that we're seeing right after this fundamental event. Okay, now good buying up here. That's good. We only made it up to the top of this area here, and we're back in the middle of this range now. Now there's a couple things to look at in this little range in here as well. Boy, it's moving pretty quickly. We're back down to our 24 level. All right, so all we did was get a breakout above here. We do have buyers up in here, but not enough to look for the top of the previous area or high up here. Okay, so we're back at the pivot, and now sellers are going to try to take it right back down to 21 here, okay, or maybe this liquidity at 22. Right, so it still remains kind of all over the place. We were prepared though, and looking for this breakout. Now, it failed, right? How do you manage this in here? This is really critical because this was what we were looking for, and we had the pieces. In fact, you can even see an initial algo here, stair-stepping up and pushing price back up into liquidity up in here and here, these areas, 27 and also this 26.5, right? And they're still here in the bid or on the bid at a higher level in here. Still looks good. Okay, do we get the buyers up in these areas in here? Well, we have exhaustion on this little area at the tip here. And then we see the move back down, still looking for buyers to support it at that point. And then here we run into interesting event. High liquidity, and we found some sellers trade into it. Okay, so and then sellers were able to take control of that market at that point. We get a little bit of a bounce, but they come back in and they hit the bid hard. Right, so now let's see what's unfolded here. So we would look for this. Now, how would you manage this kind of trade? Well, you can be prepared for it. We were looking for it right around in here. Okay, that a bounce off of this, buyers starting to come in here, back up to the top and break out of the range, okay, which did unfold. And at that point, you don't get too much out of this. I would have looked for the move back up to the top of the range in here, and didn't work out. Move your stop to break even at that point, or take a small scratch, a small loss, one or the other. But you are prepared for this event to unfold. Okay, and we had our reasons for this to unfold as well. We're prepared for it, and we managed our trade. Okay, the order flow was telling us we had the potential for that move, and it didn't work. It failed. Right now, why did I had the bias for it to come up into this area here? Because that was the knee-jerk reaction after the fundamental events. Okay, 2 events. Right, so we bash around back and forth in here, even come back down to the bottom of this structure, back to our pivot. We're back up above it for the next round up in here, and then I see more buyers up in here again. I'm looking for it to break out, right, and I'm looking for it to retest some of these areas, and we didn't get it. Right, so the sellers are now coming in. They're firmly in control and moving it down into this 15 level of liquidity here. Right, so we can take this further as well, and look at these areas in here, how critical they are to understand. Okay, look at the move through it, retest back to it, and then follow through on the downside that was able to break this structure and continue. All right, so that's what unfolded in here, and there's some potential ideas for capturing some of that and managing the risk as well. Right, so yeah, it's they don't all work out, but you can certainly manage your risk. All right, so all the way back down into this swing low here, which is low of the cash session, as you guys can see. All right, so anyway, that was kind of fast and furious going through all of this in here due to the fundamental events that unfolded here at 10 a.m. All right, let me know if you have any questions, and we can go through it. Good morning, trading for a living. And Dieter, good morning, good afternoon in Germany. All right, how's everything going on over here? Crash F16, good morning. Slowdown, Rob, good morning. Guys, really nice meeting yesterday, and wanted to certainly thank Slowdown privately and publicly for a really nice job with his coaching in the Bookmap Academy. All right, so if you guys are interested in this, let me just show you on YouTube how to get involved and where to come into Discord as well. You might want to consider joining our Discord room and getting all of this information directly. Let me show you how you can do it from bookmap.com. So go to bookmap.com, and then on the More button here, click on that, and then our community is all here. You can get the link here to our Discord chat room. We have a forum, many things in here. One of the things that we have here is the Bookmap Academy. Click on this link here. That'll take you to the Academy page. You can apply immediately here if you like, but I'll just briefly explain it and then also show you what we did last night, okay, or at market close yesterday. We do it every Thursday, and we review your trades. Okay, you journal trades. We will give you coaching and mentorship via your spreadsheet and your journaling of your trades. All right, and we also have these events weekly to go through and open the mic for you in the live event, so you can discuss your trading decisions and walk us through, and then we can give you direct feedback as well. All right, so just read through it here. Your first step would be to apply. There's a form down at the bottom of the page here. You need to input your name, your email, and your Discord and apply. It's as simple as that. There's FAQs. This is all free. You will need a version of Bookmap though, because you're going to be journaling your order flow within Bookmap. So you need to have Bookmap, and then we'll offer this to you. Now it's more than just a coaching, mentoring service here. This is a community, and it's all about trading. So what you do is you first apply for the Bookmap Junior Academy. So there's steps. That's the step one, right? And then if your content is good, we will invite you to the Bookmap Junior Academy, the BMJA. In the Bookmap Junior Academy, it's a testing ground or proving ground. You need to make the thresholds here. They're very simple thresholds. We're not asking for much. One good piece of quality content every day. That's it. Okay? Journal it and post it into Discord, post it into Twitter, whatever you prefer. And then we can look at it and then we can comment on it. So we will help you. And if in the Bookmap Junior Academy you make it through that, then you will be invited to, in that threshold, if you meet it, you will be invited to the Bookmap Academy in step 2 here. What you get there is you can get Bookmap for free. The Global Plus version we have. You can also get the MBO bundle of add-on indicators. If you double that quota of 2 pieces of content per day, quality content, it's not asking for much. Just be consistent, and we will be happy to give you access, free access. You'll need to do this every month. And here's the onboarding process, or the path to becoming a more professional trader. This will certainly help you, certainly, to become a better trader by journaling and getting feedback from the community and from coaches. Once you have passed through the academy, the next step, if you're interested, is to become a Bookmap Academy coach. Slowdown is one of those coaches. Jack is one of those coaches. They have come through the whole program. And now what they're doing is, due to their expertise, they are turning back around and helping coach Junior Academy members. So you're giving back at that point. You are also helping yourself. You're also clarifying for you what you're looking for so that you can articulate that to them. And furthermore, you are getting access to all these other applicants and Junior Academy members, and building the community for yourself to do all sorts of things. Like the next step, step 4, is you can become a Bookmap Academy streamer. Okay, and you can stream daily just like I am right now within the Bookmap Academy. All right, or I'm sorry, our Bookmap discourse and on YouTube. All right, so it's a great program. If you guys are interested, here's the link. Take it and take a look at it and see what you think. All right. Well, one more thing I'll show you here is the meeting from yesterday. So if you want to get a feel for what this coaching is all about, go to YouTube, okay, and scroll down here, and we should see it right in here. No, we don't. Okay. We'll just go to the lives here, and it's right here. All right. So I'll put this link into the chat for you as well, so that you guys can see what we covered. Really nice meeting yesterday with just 2 coaches, and you guys can get a real nice flavor for what we do here and what we're covering. All right, so give you the link in here for the review and how we open the mic, and you can get a feel for the process and how it works. All right, so let's get back to the markets here. All right, so well, buyers coming right back in, streaming right back in. I'm looking for them to retest our 24 level here. This is the big pivot here. Okay, above or below 24 in my view. We've come back down in here to this 15 level. We saw the sellers coming in and looking for that test into the 15. And now what's happening down at 15? Well, we're getting our answer here. Look at all this high liquidity earlier, and they're back in here again, even more in here in the order book. So they want to buy. All right, so you can see that after all that selling, we see buyers come in. We get one more test back down here, and we get buyers again. Okay, so I'm looking for these buyers to come up to this 24 level here. We've already gotten a pullback, and then let's just zoom in here and really look for them here. The bid is starting to show a little bit of activity. Let's get a little bit more here, and then buyers here at 21. And then I would look for a pretty quick move, if we can get that, pretty quick move up into 24. Okay, so 24 would be our target to take some off. Right, it's a very simple order flow event in here that we're looking at. Okay, so let's see, here come our buyers. And how does that bid look? Yeah, they're bidding up a bit. They're also on the offer here. Now we need to see the follow through up here at 22. There they are. Okay, back up to the top of this little range. And let's see if we can get one more push by these buyers. We've already pulled back. Okay, and looking for another push by the buyers up into 24. And that would be the partial profit target. Okay, they're still buying. This should break. It should break now, basically, okay, because we've auctioned up here a bunch of times and we're still finding buyers. So I'm looking for them to press it now and explore further up into our 24. Okay, there it is. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about trade management in here. Now we're talking about really small time frames in here, right? From 20 or small moves in here, 21 to 24. Take some off. Why? We have our reasons. We know that this is a critical area in here. Okay, so we're going to take some off and move your stop to break even. Now, again, let me just please reiterate. These are just concepts in here. We are not advocating or recommending any sort of trading activity around it. It's for you to understand what we're looking at, how to read it, and then possibly how to consider getting involved in how to manage your trade. Okay, entries, exits, trade management as well, along with the order flow reading and the setup. All right. Now, again, this is only we're talking about purely reading. Like, well, there's a lot of things in here. There's structure. There's swings. There's fundamental events, etc. But we're talking about very simple structure here. And pretty simple trade management as well. Okay, based off of the activity of the participants in this auction, okay, and where are they willing to transact. All right, so that's it. It's not. We don't have to worry about all sorts of indicators. We don't have to worry about all sorts of lines on charts, etc. Okay, we're just reading this in here now. All of those different indicators and lines on a chart are great. Just look for your confluence in the order flow and the transactions, and this will help you tremendously. So, for example, let's suppose you are a VWAP trader. Let's just go through that. Okay, I'll put the VWAP on the chart. Here it is. Okay, so VWAP is, you can see it's a little off from our pivot up here, but it blazes through it and then trades up into it. We get a little bit of a pause and then it breaks out, and then it's traded back to the VWAP here, and then we've gotten this continuation. So, for example, if you're a VWAP trader, and this white line is the VWAP, if you are, then maybe you would consider this as a potential pullback and entry. All right, so this is one of the ways to start to integrate a bigger picture trading plan along with the order flow here. All right, so and why would we why would we look for that in here? Well, because it's really simple. This is a cluster of trading activity right around VWAP, bashing around VWAP, and then here is our move to the upside. Okay, and look at the volume in there. The volume on the buy side is good. We are trending. Okay, so we can draw a couple of trend lines in here as well. In fact, we don't know that that pullback is at this point. We can draw the trend line, and we get this pullback in here. Now it's bouncing off your VWAP. It's above VWAP. Now look at the condition in here. All right, let's just zoom in here. Okay, so we're gonna. Sorry guys, we're here for the live price action. I want to just make a point with this so that you can extrapolate and use this information for all sorts of ways of trading. Okay, so for example, let's take a look at, we get a move through VWAP and we get a pullback. Look at the relative volume in here. Let's actually bring the heat map down quite a bit. Just look at the relative volume in here, in this move in here. All right, so the relative volume is this. Look at the bars down here, and these are delta bars. This is market buy orders here, transactions. The red is market sell orders, but it's buy minus sell. So there's more buyers compared to sellers in here, and that's why you see all these green dots, because they're selling in here too. Okay, but the delta is buy minus sell. So buy minus sell here, there's more sellers than there are buyers here. Okay, in this bar here, and the same in the dot here. Right, so that's what it signifies. And let's look at the relative volume in here. Well, clearly more green dots, okay? Very few red dots, and look at the bars down here. So it's telling us that this is a breakout and a retest back down here on lower selling. Okay, so if that is the case, now you have if you're a VWAP trader, this is a nice bounce off of your VWAP, right? And then there's all sorts of ways to look into it. Maybe you just you see that it's lower volume, and maybe you're interested in trying to catch the in bottom ticket here just off of VWAP. That's fine if that's the way that you trade. Maybe you're a little more conservative. You're looking for buyers to come back in here. Maybe it would be in here. That's pretty aggressive. This is really telling you something, though. You're starting to see those buyers back up here again. So there is appetite by the buyers at this point. Okay? And you see it continued on up into about 26. And you get another pullback here, right to where those buyers initiated this move. Okay, so just, you know, we had actually a footprint trader, AJ, excellent trader, go over what he is looking for in footprint and then how he is determining that in Bookmap. Okay, there was a really good example of exhaustion, and that exhaustion could be seen very clearly also in Bookmap. Right, so the numbers of the transactions that you see, or the volume traded that you see in the footprint, and then that exhaustion, you're only going to see one at that area of exhaustion. And there's no more participants in those transactions, and that's when you start to roll over. Okay, what does that look like in Bookmap? Okay, well, it would be very similar to. I mean, it didn't really quite exhaust here. There are some transactions here. Okay, but you're looking for no transactions here, basically. But this would be relative. There's just very, very few here. Look at. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than this, actually. Here we had 14 transactions, one tick above. Now this is a chart range volume profile, so it's just this volume here. 287 transacted at that price level, buying and selling. Okay, this is a sliver of that, right? It's like this is 20 times bigger, one tick above. So essentially it is exhausting out, and this is what it looks like. You know, very few transactions down here. Okay, so if you look for that, then that's maybe another element for your trading strategy and understanding, gaining an edge in here, and then looking for that those buyers to come back in. Just note, there's different ways of looking at it depending on your risk appetite. If that's very aggressive, you risk the chance of sellers coming in and hitting the bid hard, back down to the lower level, etc. All right, that's one thing to look at, is the relative volume on your bounce off of the VWAP here. Another one would be to look at the heat map in here too. Okay, so where is their demand? Where is their supply? Well, there's demand at a higher level in here at 48.20, and it's pretty dark in here actually. Sellers could have hit the bid through it and come back down to 21 here pretty quickly. They didn't. All right, so we're not getting too much out of the order book in here. We are getting something out of this liquidity up in here though. These sellers who look like they're willing to sell at this time in the auction process lost their appetite and pulled those orders away from the market. There's some liquidity in here, but the majority here in the heat map, you can very clearly see it. This allows buyers, as long as we get aggressive buyers, it allows them to take it further to the upside here and get price discovery up into other levels of higher liquidity here and meet the sellers. It's as simple as that. Okay, aggressors and passive orders and where they meet to transact. Here it is right here. Here's your transaction into that liquidity, and then look at the selling that came in after that point. All right, so we really have a kind of a volatile back and forth day here. In fact, let's see where this came up to. Boy, not much in here. I would still be looking for this retest back up into the swings here. We just came shy of even this smaller swing in here. Can't even reach it. So this is how you can start to understand context off of this little VWAP trade idea in here. Okay, so it came up into the high liquidity at 26.25, and no more. Okay, let's just zoom in here a little bit. Here's where you see the transaction into that liquidity, buying, a little bit of buying, unable to get buyers to transact up here. There is no buying here. Okay, lack of buying. A little bit more buying in here, and that's it. We rotate back in. You'll see this all the time, even on these micro structural levels in here. You'll see that there is some buying in here. Sellers rotate back in and drive it back into the mean on a very small time frame here. Okay. Now, it's not truly micro. If it's micro structural stuff, we'd be looking at sub-second levels, okay, from milliseconds, which we can even go down into micro and nano second resolution if you guys want. That's more for algorithmic traders and see how their transactions or algos are working, but we capture all of that data. Okay, it's very, very accurate. All right, so let's take a look back here and see what's going on. Interesting stuff. Right back to the downside, right back to the upside here. All right, so now what else do we have here? Let's take a look at the same process in here. We've been bouncing off of VWAP, and we are accepting and above VWAP here. Okay, and we are now kind of testing our 24 pivot as well, right here. Okay, are we going to stay above that? Well, no, not right now. You can see sellers coming in. Now, let's look for it though. Okay, here they come. Here come the buyers. I want to see a little more action on the bid here though, for a potential move to up to 26 and maybe 28 here. Okay, so no, we didn't get it, and now sellers are pushing it through. Not only 24, looks like they're trying to push through this VWAP here. Now there's enough selling in here to do it now. The relative selling is pretty strong in here. Okay, here's our pullback. Okay, look at the volume in here, the dots in here. I'm seeing selling. So bottom edge here, I'm looking for selling in here at around this 22. Yeah, 20. There they are. Now let's see if the sellers can now take it down to 20. Okay. Now We also are looking at the order book. And then there is some activity on the bid down around this 20 level, as you can see. See, look at this. This one player came in here, large lot tracker, about 300 or 250 contracts or so, right here at 21. This is a new order flow event. What is the reaction of the market to this high demand in here, especially by one player? Okay, well, it's starting to trade into it. Okay, very few, one contract traded into it there. All right, so now we're starting to find some buyers. Now look at how aggressive this passive order is. Well, it actually could be a lot more aggressive, to be honest. But they're stair stepping up, and they're showing more demand at a little higher level in here, and we're finding buyers. Okay, so we're getting a rotation now. Let's see if we can come back up here, find our buyers again. Due to this new event in here, we're looking for buyers in here, and then for them to take it higher. Now that's scenario number one. And we got to go through both scenarios in here, and scenario number two is what's unfolding. We found sellers take on these buyers here, and they transacted. Okay, here it is right here. We can verify that. We can zoom right in here. We can look at the transactions. Out of those, how many were it here? 353. How many transacted at this price level? We have some selling. Well, we can split it out here. Split out the buyers and sellers and take a look. 322 transacted, 329. All right, so yeah, it transacted. All right, so we found some sellers take these buyers on. Okay, and that's all we know. Really, is that transaction took place. It is the context after these kinds of order flow events that we want to understand. Is there still more selling? Is there buyers? Are there buyers? Okay, we're actually finding a bit more selling come back down and retest. Okay, so now let's see if we can get another one. This scenario number one would be finding sellers here and then push it into this liquidity down in here. Okay, through our 20, I'm looking for actually 19 and a half or 19. Okay, does this make sense to you guys? Are you understanding, like just taking a very simple concept like VWAP, but then understanding the auction process around it? Okay, this should help your trading. It's for a lot of people making transitions. It was really good to see AJ. He's kind of new to Bookmap, making that transition from footprint to a Bookmap. Okay, and what is he gaining out of it? Well, he's still looking at his footprint and his volume numbers, but look at the heat map in here. And then another thing that is I just think essential from Bookmap, one of the advantages in here is this is non-aggregated data. Okay? All of the price action you see, all of the movements, all of these little areas in here you can see and understand. Let me go through an example. Okay, so if we just trying to get and understand the transparency in here, that's all. Okay, if we can look at a 1 minute chart in here. Okay, the 1 minute chart here, every minute you're getting aggregated data in here. First off, you would not see this heat map in here. Okay, nor would you see that on a footprint chart. Secondly, the data is only in one bar here. There's this context of the structure that is essential to understand. Those details are lost in aggregated data. Right? So you'll see this big cluster of selling down here, but understand this context down here is golden. Okay? High liquidity, stair-stepping up, understanding like in here, well, the retest back up into here. And understanding this little hit here, not finding buyers twice, looking for sellers, looking for them to take it down. We do get that, but they're trading right into high liquidity. This is the context we're talking about. Okay, in your footprint chart, you'll just get your numbers in here, and you will lose these little points of exhaustion here, and you will not see the other side of the trade here with the high liquidity on the bid. Okay, and that kind of context is really what it's all about. Understanding the auction process in here. Okay, so anyway, let's move on. Let's take a look and see what's occurring right now. Another one. I mean, we can go over candlestick traders, candlestick charts in here too. Okay, so let's take a look here. So actually, this would be at this point here. It would be we'd wait for maybe a break of this bar now, maybe around this 23, and that would be a sell signal. Because what do we do up here? We see a wick up here, right? So if that is the case, we're looking for sellers to break this bar and then trade back down to maybe these swings down in here. Okay, so around 20. All right, well, let's look for that scenario. All right, that would be scenario number one we'd look for. And now we will read the order flow and put those pieces together to look for that scenario to unfold. Now, the other scenario, we always got to go through both and not have a bias initially. Scenario one, scenario two. Right, so so we look for something to unfold and tell us that one of those is more likely to unfold. It looks like scenario number one is more likely to unfold here. All right, so candlestick pattern trading, what you'd be looking for is the move down to here. Okay, now the opposite scenario is, what if we get back up above this candle here, this previous candle that just closed, and up here we see a big green volume dot. Okay, we also see a skew in the order book in here. Well, then we look for this one to fail. Maybe these sellers in here be trapped, and we look for a short squeeze to the upside, back up above the swing here, and then maybe continuation above as well. Okay, so we can see that that's kind of starting to, it might unfold here. Right, so let's just go through the context again. What are we seeing up in here? Okay, to help us with that. Well, do we get our big green dots up in here? No. In fact, we're getting the opposite. Now it's coming back down, and then now we're down here again. Great. We should see at this point, then sellers move it. They should be able to. Now we've tested here twice, and we see the relative volume on the sell side here. Okay, so then we're looking now for, we had another rotation in here, but now we're looking for our sellers to hit it. Okay, and they should be able to hit it back down to about here, this structural area around 20. Okay, and that would be the a potential target here, right? Maybe this liquidity at 19.5. Okay, now it's this one's not working out either. We're right back up. This is something actually we covered in the Academy meeting yesterday. I want to cover in here. Really, really important point is and why we look for these. We go through the scenarios like we did, okay, and now it looks like scenario one. Scenario number two, with the green dots up here, looks more likely. Okay, so yeah, would look for them to pull it higher now. However, this was a really important point. I think it was trout, it was shark blue, and it was someone else. I can't remember in the Academy, and Jay, that we're looking for these things to unfold. But what do we have in here? And this is really critical to understand, so that, yeah, we're going to go through these scenarios in here like we're demoing. Okay, but there's a huge caveat here. We're in the middle of a huge value area. Okay, so it's going to bash around in these areas in here. Okay, our VWAP is right here. Our point of control is right here. Okay, we have a point of control here. All right, so it's going to bash around in these areas in here. Okay, because this is a very tradable area. right? So do you want to, although we're going through candlestick patterns or VWAP or whatever it might be, are you really looking for that to unfold in this area in here? If you are, then you've really got to see something clear. Okay, so and that kind of clarity, we are not getting that right now. We want to see huge volume here. We want to see a huge skew in the order book. It might start to unfold right now. We're starting to get some volume, but is that enough? Let's take a look. Okay, do we get the order book in here? See how kind of we're just peaking above the range in here. Okay, and then look at the relative volume in here. And now it might do it, but this is not convincing. It's just not convincing enough to come back up into these higher areas. Okay, so let's see if we get responsive sellers back in the range, back to our average here. Okay, average being our mean reversion, right? So I wanted to. This is what that Academy is just so good. We saw that several times in examples yesterday. Okay, and we've seen it in the past several times as well. Okay, so trading around these areas, look for something very distinct. If you don't see something very distinct, it is more likely going to trade back into this area here. Okay, it takes quite a bit of a volume pressure to move away from an area that's highly traded. Okay, something has to kind of disrupt it. There has to be a new evaluation. Trap traders can help fuel that, but someone needs to make a decision. And then we look for it again in the participants and the behavior in here. Okay, so yeah, look at we see this guy in here on the bid in here trying to maybe push it back up in here and goose that market back up into these areas. Goose the market. What is it? It was this huge floor trader, really kind of a celebrity floor trader. I can't recall his name now. He actually was on Bookmap in the very beginning. He used that term goose the market, which just was cracking me up. Is it Boris? God, I'll have to. Maybe you guys can remember. Let me know, because yeah, quite a character. Some great floor trader stories there. Shark Blue, yeah, a big goose there. Well, anyway, like what was kind of interesting about him and his use of Bookmap, since he had retired from the floor, was he was saying that this was the first time he kind of felt the markets like he did on the floor, because you can see the participants' behavior in here. And it's all algorithmically, or it's all digital, and or maybe not, but like by understanding the order book in here, see how they're stair stepping up a bit more in here. Okay, what's the reaction in here? Testing these areas in here, and we're going to see what the reaction is. Okay, so and we'll see where people get trapped in here. Like right now, I'd look for the mean reversion here. I'm not seeing enough buyers in here interest to take this higher. So I'm looking for sellers to drive it back down to an area where it's more tradable down in here. Okay, so that would be our 24 level, and then maybe down to 22. Okay, down here. Okay, they're still fighting it. Buyers are still fighting it here. Let's take a look. There's some exhaustion right there. Here's an order book skew. Here's our sellers. Okay, sellers, you should be able to drive it. This is our retest back down here, and we're still finding sellers. Sellers, in this case, we look for the move back down to this 24. Boy, buyers are stubborn. They were stubborn yesterday too. They just continue to buy in here. And again, exhaustion here, order book should get some sellers here. We do have some liquidity in here though, on the bid. Okay, so this is where you have to be kind of careful. See the liquidity coming in here at 25.5. Okay, so maybe we'll find sellers, take these guys on and trade through it, and then down to 24 very, very quickly. Right. So anyway, it's not, when we see that it's dark underneath here and we don't see a lot of liquidity being added at these levels, it is clearer for us. We know that the demand is down here, not in this area in here, right? But see how the demand is creeping up in these areas in here, and we're just not finding enough sellers. Although we see the exhaustion on the buy side, we do get some sellers. We're just not getting enough. Okay. Now look at the demand at a higher level in here, and then do we find buyers? Starting to. Okay, what happened to those areas of exhaustion? Well, we're above them now. Okay, so now buyers have their chance to try to move it away from that value area. It's really back and forth, guys, in here today, or in this time period here. Okay, and we're trying to evaluate it in here, and look for some of these moves in here. And we're not getting the clearest. We're going through the scenarios, but we're getting kind of not a very clear scenario, or more precise, higher probable scenario or setup. Yeah, JYF, we can look. I'll put the market pulse tool on. We can take a look at that. And let's see, there was another question. Slowdown was in here earlier. In terms of correlation, how much weight do you put on the? Yeah, the Russell kind of does its own thing. I haven't studied enough slowdown to really make that correlation. I have seen it though many times, where if we look at the correlation of, and we can put it together in one kind of correlated market or synthetic instrument with the market pulse, is to look at the ES, NQ, and Russell and YM, and when we start to see all of those moving kind of together, they can be really, really strong moves. Okay. Oh, I see trader at Alois had already answered your question. Yeah, I totally agree, Alois. Yeah. The only thing I can add on that is a lot of times I've seen it when they all start to correlate, it can be really, really powerful moves. Okay, that's when we're looking for it to move away from these value areas that we're talking about. And right now, it just continues to bash back and forth. Okay, so finally, we're getting this mean reversion move back down into 22 here. Okay, so it really tried. It kept on. We did find our sellers in here, but the order book, as well as just not enough sellers to take it lower. We did find enough buyers to take it higher here into this high liquidity, and then now we see the sellers have their fun with it and take it back down into the most traded level here. Okay, and likely I would anticipate some sort of bounce off of here. Okay, around this area here. This is where I would imagine these guys are going to start taking their profits. Okay, they've traded it back down into the mean. And look for maybe some profit taking, look for a bounce in here. Key features in 7.5. Yeah, I can go over a few with you. I'll go through it quickly. A few of these actually, maybe it won't be so quick. It's kind of hard to some of them are kind of conceptual in here, so it's or hard concepts to understand. But let me give it a shot here. All right, so Doug, you can pass it along to others, etc. So let's take the candlesticks off. And sorry guys, I don't have any trade examples today for you. And you can see this is it beta now? Yeah, it is. It has been upgraded to beta. There's still some issues every now and then. It hasn't crashed on me, but I do see some issues every now and then. Like, I don't even know if I have the upgraded version, to be honest. So anyway, there's one in here that I'll show you immediately, Doug. So I'm gonna demo this by showing you time and sales. All right. And as you guys know, in your time and sales, like when we see these trades go through in here, maybe you guys don't know if you have your time and sales as well. You can pop it out here, okay, and then in a separate window and place it wherever you want. And then when you close it, it just basically pops back into the columns here. Right, and then you right-click in the column to go back to whatever you want, if it's current order book or another kind of column type. Let's go back though to time and sales. All right, so now what is the time and sales showing us in here? Well, it's showing us the transactions going through. Just a note, the volume dots in here are basically the time and sales as well. It's just showing it on the horizontal. And you're getting so much more out of it here in the horizontal. It is a graphical representation with the dots, but the beauty here is you have a composite view of time and sales here on the best bid and offer, as well as the heat map showing you the liquidity in here and the relationship between the two, as well as the market structure. So here, we're starting to see some well, let's see, do we see some buyers in here? And we can look at this context. Okay, here's a stream of buyers just came through. Hey, let's see, if we get another stream of buyers up in here, I would look for them to break it, right? I would look for time and sales in here to break it. I'm looking for transactions in here in time and sales to break this structure and trade up to 29. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, looking at the heat map and the context of this graphical representation of time and sales streaming in real time in a composite view just gives you a lot more. You don't have to look at a separate dome. You don't have to look at a separate chart. You don't have to look at a separate time and sales. You can just look at this here and you get all of that context immediately. Anyway, let's get back into one of the features in here. So here's our, do we see that time and sales? There's our streaming, right? So yeah, and we're looking for them to, I'm looking for them to take it higher. Now look at here's our example of context. There's a wall of liquidity in here. Okay, so yeah, we might get time and sales, but you want that context of like who's on the other side of the trade. All right, so anyway, hope that was helpful. Let's go through the Cesar, you want to take a look at Apple? We can. Let me go through a couple of the new features in 7.5, okay, that Doug had requested. Nice move there, guys. Finally, we got this move. That's really hard to judge this, to be honest. We had all of this bashing back and forth in here, and we had high liquidity in here, and then we started to see more buying in here, and we would look for it to come back up into this liquidity here, and then we see a beautiful stop run here. So how do you kind of grab that? Well, you already have to be in it, basically. And then there's your risk. You're assuming your risk on some of these moves, and you would have just gotten lucky for that stop run back up and above. All of these swings that we're looking for earlier here, this one right here from the fundamental news events. right? All right, so let's get into it here. Now you can filter your time and sales in here. Let's suppose I put in, I don't know, 15, right? Or let's put in more than that, 35. All right, so each time and sales event in here has to be a block trade by the aggressor of 35 or more. That's what that means, right? So that's how I filtered it. So you can see here's one for 36, 36, right? So it has to be 35 or greater, and then it will be displayed in here. All right. So now this is by an order that is sent for 35. We are consolidating or aggregating that event in the time and sales here. Okay, that it has to be 35 or greater. If I show, and I'll have to deselect this now, and I'm going to show individual trade events in here. Okay, so what this means now with this box checked is that each transaction that takes place here is the other side of the trade unfolding. So you might get your block trade by the aggressor of 35, but that might have unfolded in a variety of ways. It could have been 35 one lots that take the other side of the trade. That is showing the individual trade events here. This makes the tape rather useless, as you guys can see. It's really hard to read that, right? So, but maybe you want to read that. Now, like I said, you can filter it for it here. Let's actually drop this a little bit lower and put in 10. Okay, and now it has to be 10 or greater. Now, if I check this box here, what that means is the other side of the trade, okay, not the block order going through, that might be 100 or something. Okay, that is not going to show up in your time of sales. It's the other side, who's taking the other side of that block trade. So that 100 lot, I'm filtering it for it here to show me that 10 out of that 100 block, that someone on the other side of the trade takes it for 10 or greater. Okay, all those one lots, I'm not interested. I'm only interested in the ones 10 or greater. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, because that's the foundation for getting into the large trade alert here that we featured in our digest. Okay, so the large trade alert in here is now inside the configure add-ons, and yeah, you can provide feedback here or whatever. You can get a sound alert, or you can get a pop-up alert. Be careful with the sound alerts. It might drive you nuts. So if that is the case, know that it's your large trade alert, and you'll have to deselect it or deselect it here. Okay, so I'm not going to turn that on, but I will turn on the pop-up here. Right, and you can see it pops up in the lower right-hand corner here. Okay, so now any trade, what it's saying in here, any trade that is on the tape, okay, like this one here right now, it's similar. And any trade that takes place is going to be for 10 or greater. And it will pop up. It will show here in the time and sales. I will also get a pop-up message. Okay. Now, this is only for the demo purposes. I mean, this is not very helpful to get the pop-up for 10, right? So anyway, now, if you want to filter that and you want to get a trade alert for what we showed earlier, let's suppose we want to now look at the individual trades on the other side transacting. Okay, this would be the same setting here. Okay, and this is a new feature in Bookmap to get that trade alert. All right, so that's how that works. Let me know if you have any questions on it. It's just an alert, and that's all it is. But you can see the individual transactions, and there's multiple reasons why you might be looking for that, especially for some of you algo guys looking for very, very specific transactions. All right, so that's that. that is the large trade alert. I'm going to deselect it here, and I'll turn this back into our COB column. Okay. All right. Let's see. Another new feature in here is the, you'll note in here, this is a big one, Doug, is the volume dots. All right, so the volume dot settings now, there's a few different settings in here under volume dots in 7.5. Typically beforehand, I had the smart volume clustering, which is done by a kind of a combination of time and also by volume. And then it will cluster between these two actually in here. You can put in time if you want and put in a minute or, you know, hour level, or by volume. You can also look at, you know, like 50, 500 contracts, whatever. The smart volume clustering is a combination of both. Okay, and I usually kept it down around here. I wanted to see less clustering, but a little bit. I didn't want to see all the transactions. The way that it works in Bookmap is basically here. I'll just show you like this. Actually, maybe I'll use the pen tool. Okay. The way that it works in Bookmap is your timeline. In your timeline, it is divided. Okay, and we're talking like pixels in here, basically. If you get a transaction within one of the pixels in here, it basically and you get multiple transactions in here, it's going to aggregate into one, right? That's it. Okay, no matter if it's vertical or horizontal. Now the way it works is, let's suppose there's a transaction. Okay, and there's another transaction though within this very, very small area in here up above. We will now display that vertically. Okay, so we're going to be displaying a lot more dots in here. Right, so you're probably going to see this in your volume dots. Right, so for example, let me go back to the clustering setting in here and bring this down, and you can see there's a lot more transactions overlaid on top of each other. And if I zoom out, you see a lot of volume in here, right? Where we didn't have that before. Okay, so now we're displaying it, and it's up to you, what kind of setting you want in here. But you have more volume if you want to take a look at it. So what you can do, or what I'm finding, is I move my smart clustering into the middle so that the clustering will take place on the vertical scale in here. All right, where previously it was aggregating on the vertical, now it is not. Okay, so I'm using the clustering to take care of that. All right, so that's one. And another one is a new filter in here as well in the clustering. You can also aggregate by price here, which means that the aggregation is going to take place at that price level only. Right, and once it trades onto another price level, it will start to aggregate on that price level only, until it changes. Right, now you can also aggregate by price and type here. Okay, so that sounds confusing, but it's pretty straightforward. Let me show you what I mean. Here, for example, we see the aggregation here on the bid, right, with this selling in here. Okay, but now there's buying at the same price level in here. Okay, so this is the type, that there's two types in here, right? So if I aggregate, if I aggregate here, by price. Okay, well, you can see what it did. Okay, so if I go back to none, you can see that this will aggregate only on the bid in here. This is aggregating only on the or this one price level aggregates only, right? So that's aggregation by price. Okay, and then now I can also aggregate by price and type. Okay, so now you're going to see a bit more because now it's including buying and selling at the same price level. Understood? Kind of works like maybe I can demo it almost the same way using time and sales and the volume dots. Let me show you what I mean. So by time and price is very similar to the last trade here that takes place, right? So now, guys, I know these. Bear with me for a little bit. We want to go over the live price action, but this is a new beta version, and we should cover it. Okay, so and so you guys understand what these new changes are and also how to use them. Okay, they're much more for lower time frame and scalping, and it can be a scalper's dream, really. I mean, all of these things are developed for these low time frame scalpers. Some of these new features that we're covering, at least. Right? So here's what I mean. If I go to right click in here, go to configure, and then aggregate last trade right here. Okay, see the white number in here, and then the red or green number in here. Right, so if I put in or deselect this, I only get the red or green number now. Here's what it means. And for those guys like scalp using the DOM and TT, etc., this came from a request from the scalpers, and that's why we delivered this. Okay, so actually let me turn it back on so that you guys understand this, and then also why it's important to understand this. Okay, there's really something to this, and it all ties together, even like volume profile, how volume profiles are built. These kinds of things really make a difference in here. So here's our aggregation in here. All right, so look at the buyers up in here lifting the offer in here. Okay, we see 8 transactions, or I'm sorry, the last transaction was for a volume of 8, but we see 88 altogether in here. All right, so all of this in here constitutes 88 transactions, or a volume, I should say, not transactions. And then the last transaction was for a volume of 8. Okay, as I go further, here's one for 23 that just transacted. Now we're up at 103. It's aggregating that number. Now, what happens here is we flipped over here to the and price now hit the bid, a volume of 1. One transaction for a volume of 1 here, and that's why we see the aggregate here now on this price change, the aggregate counter starting over again. Okay, now it's starting over again. Okay, it just came up on the best offer. This transaction here was for a volume of 7. So both the aggregate is the same as the last transaction. Okay, and this is the aggressor. The green number is the aggressor of buyers. The red number is sellers. Okay, now look at this here. Okay, now we see an aggregate here. 97 is because it's all been on the aggregating here. 97 on the best offer by the aggressor. 97 is the volume. Okay, best offer goes up a tick. And then now we see it trading on the best bid, though, at the same price level, but it's aggregating here. It did not change or flip this here, okay? Because now the best bid is on the same level as the previous best offer. and it is aggregating here, right? So now you can start to understand, like, the same concepts in here of aggregation at a price level, and then you're looking to see if maybe the aggressors can take it outside of that level. Same idea, okay? Trading inside out, basically. Okay? Aggregating. Now I would be looking for up here, if we see 175 here, we want to see the aggressive buyers lifted away from that area and trade up into 84. Okay, we got 13, we got 14. That's it, 15, I think it was. Yeah, 15. And then it flips back to here. Okay, so it's just stuck in the range, basically. Okay, now let's just see. Let's just watch this unfold. Something's going to change here. And now we're noting, though, we see quite a few now transacting up there on the best offer. Okay, we're back up again. We have a little bit on the liquidity here as well, on the best bid. Okay, so now let's see if we get a bit more transacting. Nope, we found sellers hitting it here. They took it on. Okay, we get a little volatility back and forth in here. Okay, we know this is the most traded level by far. Okay, at this 32 3/4. We're looking for someone to take it away from that area, and no one's willing to do that right now. Okay, still at that level. Still at that level. Okay, now we're starting to see it come up, but we come right back to that level. Oh, come on, price. Okay, so now we see skew in the on the bid. Okay, now let's see, do we get it? Okay, now we've moved away from it a bit. Now we really want to see outside here, outside of this most traded level at this 32 3/4, we're looking for buyers up here. We've got the order book on our side, right? They pulled, some of it transacted, they pulled. We see on the bid in here. Now we're just looking for our aggressors to hit it, and we're looking for the move higher. And it's back and forth. We see the sellers take them on. Okay. And we're not getting that. We're just not seeing that appetite up in here for buyers to take it away. Okay. Now we're getting it a little bit more. And it's starting to get kind of boring, guys. This is looking better though. See how they're lifting the offer in there a bit more. And sellers take it right back down. Okay, so then we see the move right back up. Well, anyway, like, let's just take a look at this in the bigger picture. Remember what we're talking about? Remember this 32 3/4 we talked about? Here's your high volume node. Okay, we saw it developing, and we saw moves away from it, but it kept on retracing back to it. In here, we thought maybe we'd finally get a move higher. We didn't, and then finally we did. We do see the buyers come in here and move it higher, and really not on a whole lot in here on the hitting that or lifting that offer in here. So they got to pick it up, and they finally do back up into 35 up here. Anyway, a few different things to go over with the new functionality and understanding the aggregate number in here in time and sale or last transactions is very similar to also filtering your volume dots, okay, with the clustering in here by price, and also by price and type in here. Okay, and we can zoom in, and you're just going to see that aggregation and then it'll punctuate it here when that aggregation. See how it's aggregating, done. Okay, aggregating. Okay, and then many changes in here. All right, makes sense. So we're just looking at those aggregations now at that same price level. Okay, until it changes. All right, nice iceberg there. In fact, beauty. In fact, this is the kind of stuff I'm just fascinated by it. We saw all of this aggregation in here, and price failed to move up to 37. Okay, well, there's an iceberg on the other side absorbing all of this. We saw it just streaming across in here in real time, aggregating, 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 and then finally a little bit of a pop, and then back down. We saw this is absorption. I think Shark Blue had asked about absorption. This is a form of absorption in here. Okay, so these kinds of details are the things that we can see here in Bookmap very clearly. Right? And we have these new features in here also to help you see these on lower time frames. Right? Once you start to zoom out, you know, it's kind of you're just going to see less of that detail. That's for sure. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to go back to my settings here. I like the smart clustering and the clustering in the middle here. Okay, for this new version. All right. All right, guys, over in YouTube, I'm sorry I haven't looked at your questions. I see Alois has been answering all of them. Wow. Thank you, Alois. Does the screen scroll automatically? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can just left click, hold, and drag and drag it wherever you want. You'll have to click this button here to exit that drag mode and drive right back to the streaming price action here. So this is your timeline right here. This is the current market window over here, and this is the historical market to the left. That's what it's showing. Okay, so now in the current market, see how much liquidity matters in here. Like we don't know the transactions yet, but we do know the book depth. This is very, very forward looking in that sense. Where are the buyers and where are the sellers? Well, we know that already. They're here at these higher levels, and we just saw a skew in those levels in here, and we found buyers. As price was coming down, we see this skew in here with liquidity, and we found some buyers. So buyers I would look for a test back up into this 36 3/4. Okay, if we can find enough buyers. Now the context is the king in here. Here are our buyers here. Here's our lack of buyers. Back down here, it's still possible. Start to get our sellers hitting the bid. Okay, now look at this. Look at our auction here, and we're finding buyers again. I want to see buyers up here, and then I'm looking for them to break it. Okay, back up into the liquidity up in these levels here. Okay, the bid looks good. We're starting to get some buyers here. The offer is showing a little bit of resistance in here, a little bit of supply, but let's see if we get our buyers here. Now they should be able to, we're looking for an aggregation in here of those buyers, and not just a little bit. We're looking for them to start to mount that buying so that they can take all the liquidity at this price level and move to the next one. If we don't get enough, this is what happens. Okay, there's not enough buying interest to trade through that price level of liquidity here. Okay, that's why we look for a skew. The better thing to look for is this liquidity here not to be there, and to find buyers. Okay, so what we got in here was we found a little bit of buying in here, but we had the a level of liquidity here, 120 contracts. Okay, it still looks pretty decent to me, and the bid looks pretty good here too. I know that they're bidding up, so that's good. Okay, just didn't find enough in here, and we rotate back down. We find a lot of sellers hitting it. Now we're back up here again. Let's take a look at the context in here. Okay, yeah, this guy's still in here, still transacting. Okay, they're on the bid though at this level, and we rotate right back down. Just not enough to get through there. And let's see if they mount another attack here, or do the sellers take charge here? Okay, that brings us to current market. Okay, now let's take a look at that context in here in this range now. See how now we have a better context. We were looking for buyers when we're zoomed in here, and this is it. And look at the context of the sellers and the clustering down in here. Right, so there's a lot more selling in here. That's the relative volume that we're talking about. Okay, here's another retest rotation by the buyers trying to get back up above. Now, a few different scenarios to go through in here as well. We know that sellers are moving it. We know that we're slightly making lower lows and lower highs in here. However, if we can get buyers back up above this selling in here, we're looking for the potential squeeze. Okay, we know that these sellers are gonna, and we'll look for the stop run in here then at that point. Okay, look at the exhaustion here by sellers. We retested down here and we didn't find any sellers on that retest. We're finding buyers on the other side, taking it to the other side of the range and potentially breaking out from that range. Now, did we get it? Nope. Not enough up here. Not enough. Okay, well, let's see if we get another retest up here. And let's see if we get enough. Let's see if we see the auction also support us in here. You know, more demand on the bid, less supply on the offer. Okay, this context is really what we want to understand in here. Okay, well, now we're finding some sellers. Okay, now the sellers have the potential here to move this. See if they do. Okay, or we're going to get a move from the outside back in to your high volume node here at our 35.25. Okay, well, here's our selling from on the outside. Doesn't look too good. Order book is good. Not a lot of liquidity here. Okay, buyers, then let's see you move it back to 35.25. Okay, look at the order book here. Context, do we find our buyers? Yeah, there's our move back to the center. Okay, and now we have the potential with more buyers to hit the other side of the range too. And there it is. Okay, no transactions on that one. It exhausted. Okay, but we'll look for another one. Let's see if we can get another rotation up there. Okay, now, the scenario would be if we get a lot of buyers in here, then we'd look for them to take all of that liquidity at this price level here and move it back up into these levels here. Okay, 36.5, 37, 37.5. Okay, and what's that context? Well, they're starting to bid up a little bit, starting to pull a little bit here, and just not finding quite enough buyers in here yet. Okay, looking better now. Looking better. Again, not seeing a skew. Sellers can come in very quickly, and if there's not a lot of liquidity supporting it here, and move it down. Okay, so we got our move to the upside, but we didn't have that in the order book in here. Okay, really helping us. Okay, now we're seeing a little bit of it here, 36. And it's starting to pull as well. Okay, now I want to take this information here and move it out to the bigger picture. Okay, so let's take a look at the same examples in here in the bigger picture. So we were looking at, price was really bashing around when we started this webinar, and then we're really zoomed into these levels in here, and kind of lost our bigger picture context. And now our bigger picture context for the day is, this is the overnight high up here. Okay, we came up here once, and we've faded back to these transactions and this liquidity in here that was on the offer. We also see some market structure in here. So again, guys, I hope that this is helpful. Just trying to look at and understand how these markets operate and what's going on in the behavior, and then gain some insight from that. It's not it's no more than that. It's not some sort of like holy grail here we're talking about. We're just talking about like an understanding this context, and it really is what makes up the market, and that's what we want to understand. We had that webinar in first principles, understanding really what makes the market work, and then taking those concepts and then looking at a bigger picture as well. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to our bigger picture, right? Yeah, we got a lot of transactions up in here. Okay, on the buy side, where have we come back up? Well, we see the buyers lifted it pretty high up here to this structural area right here. Okay, see this little area that then it broke. Okay, just after 8:30 or before 8:30, it broke, retested back to it where it broke from. Not enough buyers, so there's our low volume pullback, and more sellers coming in, hitting the bid, and our cash open to the downside here, which was a gap fill, I believe, on the higher time frame, right? Almost. And kind of bouncing off another structural level in here on the 15-minute chart. Okay, so what did we do? Well, we came back up and retested where we had this kind of these sellers hitting the bid here, which kind of initiated this whole move here to the downside. Okay, so we've just retested it, and that was it. Okay, not enough buyers that are willing to take it higher yet. So we're back down into the range in here, and we're consolidating. Okay, and we're getting back and forth in here right now. Okay, because of all of this back and forth in here up at this price level, look what just happened for all you VWAP or volume profile traders. Okay, well, we have the point of control very, very aggressively moved from this most traded level down here, which was right in line with our VWAP, and now is up here. Okay, so that's a good sign. That's a bullish sign. Okay, that all of these transactions up in here have now created, also these transactions over here, have now created the most traded level. Right? And understanding now in the bigger picture, this being the most traded level up here, opens up all sorts of potential strategies. Okay, so is it going to be range bound? Well, then are you a range bound trader in here? Well, then you'd be looking for anything outside, maybe down into these levels here around 33 and a half. Maybe you would be a responsive buyer to trade it back into 35, or maybe try to see if it can go to the other side of the range and transact up here. So that would be your trade that you'd be looking for. Okay, so let's see if we can get that here. We need to see some buying come back in. And we want to see the order book help us too. Here's some buyers. The order book's starting to help us. All right, so let's see if we can get this now. These buyers should be able to trade it back to 35. Not enough. Back down to the low. Okay. Order book, buyers. Let's see a little bit more buying in here, and look for just a test back into 35. Okay, to just illustrate the point here. Okay, again, it's not a trade recommendation. We're just understanding market structure and the context of the volume and the order flow. Okay, so here's our move. Now look at this larger player in here with 254 contracts right at 35. So, you know, this guy's looking for the same exact thing. Okay. Maybe he's trading it outside or inside out. You know, he's willing to be a seller up here. Maybe he's covering. We don't know that. We just know there's a lot of liquidity up here. Okay. Are we finding enough buyers to take it on and trade through it is the context. One of the scenarios. For. Okay, these structural elements that we're talking about in here, you know, you can look on multiple time frames in here. Okay, for a couple of points, a couple ticks, you know, several points, 20 points, ATR of the day, whatever it might be. Same ideas and same concepts. Okay, here comes the attack on the buy side. Let's see if they can get through this liquidity here. No, not enough. Okay, we just passed the European close at 11:30. So probably see some things pick up in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, to be honest. That's right. Stephen, I'm sorry, I didn't see your, you know, something like 20 minutes or 15 minutes ago. You were talking about you can also see the delta, cumulative volume delta. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that buying at that certain area, and that's where you can start to look for and understand that context. Remember we saw that iceberg, and you know, price was just kind of, it was, God, where was it? I can't recall, 35 3/4 or something. I can't recall. Around 11:15. Okay. I know it was a sell iceberg. Right? It was maybe it was right in here. Yeah, this was it. Yep. Yeah. So now again, like you're going to see this. This is another way of understanding delta. We got the delta dots here, but you can also use your cumulative volume delta, right? Very simply. So that's the you know, crosses the zero line here. So it was sell side, and then look at all that buying delta. Guys, this is how you get your divergences. One of the ways to get your divergences in here is look at all of that buying in here, yet is failing to move price. So you're getting cumulative volume delta going up at a nice clip here on this time frame, but price is not going up with it. Okay, it should. Well, what's happening? Well, there's an iceberg here absorbing on the other side. Okay, understanding absorption at certain levels gives you a lot of insight. Okay, here's another one here, that same iceberg, it looks like. Or maybe this is the one we saw. This might have been the one we saw. It was as we were looking at time and price, and it was sliding along, aggregating one big green dot at a time, which was pretty cool to see. Yeah. Anyway, Okay, yeah, that was it then. It was this one up here, not the one previously. It's the same iceberg, probably, same guy, probably. In fact, let's turn that on and double check it. Yeah, have it filtered. So just wait for a second here. And we can look at the evolution of that iceberg. Yeah, it's a huge, huge iceberg. It actually started way back here. There's multiple icebergs going off here at that same price level. Okay, we can zoom in and see when it was actually detected. One of them was detected here at this point around 11:12. Stays in the order books, transacting 101, 26, 106, 1. Another one fully executes at a different level though, down here, right? Just a very, very quick one for 12. And this one stays in the order book the entire time. That's when we saw that absorption in this area here. Those are big transactions. So, you know, here, transaction of 625, 300, and then fully executed. Oh, you see many transactions. We really zoom in here, right? We break it down, and then fully executed here. An iceberg for 2,851 contracts. Right. So pretty nice level of transparency, followed by a stop run here on the upside after it traded through it. Anyway, guys, these icebergs and stops can offer tremendous insight. Just keep it within the context. I mean, tremendous insight to be able to see, you know, who's transacting at some of these levels here. Okay, and what exactly it is. Institutions are using icebergs. Okay, retail traders are not. Retail traders are using stops. Here's a huge stop run to the upside. Huge. Right, so understanding that people are getting stopped out. These are not necessarily new buyers entering at that point. They're exiting with their stop orders here, their buys. Okay, these are buy stops. And we see an iceberg here on the other side here. For 3,000 contracts, there's your context, okay, that we can start to understand. And then now what we're looking for based off of this context in here, and it, you know, we're going through so many different things today. Sorry about this. But this is another thing to look for if you're zoomed out in terms of context. We get a pop to the upside, and we also we know it's a stop run. We know that all of this buying in here is running right into an iceberg. There's still more buying pressure. They're able to take it higher. Okay, but look, there's still an iceberg. It's even at the same price level here, another one, and 1,338 have transacted. Okay, this is starting to show the effect of a potential turnaround in here. Okay. Now again, stops and icebergs though, use them in context, and we are here. We have really good context. We understand that this was a stop run, and we understand a larger player is absorbing with his icebergs on the other side here. Okay. Now what we're looking for is the follow through off of that, off of this context. So if we start to see sellers hitting the bid pretty hard in here, we have context to it gives us a much better feeling and understanding that these are people exiting and people distributing here, or you know, they're basically, I'm trying to use the proper Wyckoff terminology, but they're basically accumulating on the sell side in here. Okay, so we're looking now for the aggressors to finally move it, and we do find them in here starting to do that. And look for absorption on look for exhaustion on your pullbacks, on your low volume pullbacks, and look for those aggressors to come back in and move price lower. Okay, and this turns out to be what makes up this reversal in here. All right. So again, understanding these elements in here and putting that together with your trading plan. Okay. Now your trading plan, like we saw that the POC move right back up here, right? And then we're thinking, well, okay, well, a lot is transacting up here, looking for, trading from the bottom of the range back to it and covering. Maybe it can come to the other side of the range. Now that we zoom out and look at this context here, maybe we're starting to look for something different. We're not looking for, we'd actually be looking for sell side. You have also high liquidity in here and buyers can't get through it. And you're looking for sell side to move it away from this new highly traded level or range. And then for them to move it back to a previous level that was highly traded, which might be an average on your VWAP, or it could be the previous point of control that moved up to this level here. It moved up like 12 points or so. So that's a pretty big move. That's a pretty big gap. So, watch these guys during this time of day, especially. You get these, I find, based off of my own experience, I don't have any data or any numbers. However, a lot of these mean reversion traders, they just come in and it really picks up steam, and a lot of people jump on the bandwagon, and you'll get these really nice strong moves back into some sort of average, okay, which could be your VWAP or a high volume node or POC. Okay, so anyway, this gap up here opens up this move from VWAP opens up all sorts of opportunities to take a look at. All right, let me see a few questions and then we'll wrap it up. How does high liquidity area change color if you drag? Okay, so this is a great question. It is based off of the calculation on the viewable area. All right, so let me demo this here. Let me take the stops and icebergs off the chart now. I'm also going to just clear everything here. Take that POC off. Also going to take off the VWAP. And clear our drawings. Okay. All right. So here's what we do in the heat map. So if I'm zoomed in here, what in this viewable range, these are the areas you can see it in the current book as well as the historical book. This is these are the highest levels of liquidity. It's actually these little red spots here. Scale is up here: red, orange, very high liquidity, then yellow, white, blue, and black. Right. So now that's relative to this view. Now I'm going to zoom vertically and change the view, and this is the heat map. You're going to see it change. Okay, because now it's taking this area as the highest liquidity and then rescaling in this view. It rescales everything else relative to that high liquidity up here. Okay, does that answer your question, GH? It should change. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily. Maybe the highest liquidity was in that viewable range previously. Okay, but it certainly will once it goes outside of the calculation, though. All right. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry, to cover, and we did a lot of different covering of a lot of different things in here. We are here, though, for the live order flow analysis and looking for follow through based off of the participants in the behavior and the scenarios that we go through. Okay, looking for some of these scenarios. If we are objective in our reading of order flow, then we can look for one of these scenarios to be more likely to unfold. And that is, we're trying to be very, very objective about it, regardless of whatever kind of trading plan that you have. Like I said, you can be looking at, a VWAP, you could be looking at candlesticks, you could be looking at your volume profiles, etc. All right. That answered your question, GH. All right, guys. Well, hey, if you like this, please hit the like button. If you don't want me to go over some of these elements, and you prefer some of the live chat, or I mean live analysis, let me know. I'm not going to put a poll in now. Maybe I'll do that on Monday, and we can do that. But to get your feedback on some of these things, more what you're looking for to cover, or specific things you're looking for to cover, like certain setups. I'll show you this in our learning center. If you go to bookmap.com and click right on here, education on the top toolbar, this will take you to the Bookmap Learning Center, where we have a getting started course on how to use all these different features, many of which we went over today. They're actually not in the these are new features. Some of them are new features in 7.5, and they are not in the getting started course. We have our market mechanics course, which goes through a lot of what we were talking about today. We have 16 contracts, and understanding in diagram form here what is happening in these markets and what makes them move in this context between liquidity on the best bid and offer and the aggressors. Okay, and this is what makes up the market structure, and everything else in terms of everything. It makes up everything. This is why it's so important to understand it. The VWAP, the volume profile, it's all based off of this, okay, or parts of it, I should say. Apple. Okay, yeah, we'll go over Apple. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We will go over Apple for Caesar. I do have it here. So we can do that. Anyway, check out what I wanted to show here was the Learning Center. If you want more information, you've got the how to use Bookmap here. You've got how these markets operate, and then you do have a strategy in here. We're adding more. We just went through a very simple continuation momentum strategy in here with a flag pattern. Okay, we have it again in diagram form, so it's very clear and understandable. Then we show that pattern in the in Bookmap and overlay it so that you can understand what that looks like in here in Bookmap. All right, and then we go through the most important one, which is the third one here video, and that is the checklist and what to look for. Okay, so we have those things for you as well in that learning center. And one more thing to go through is Apple. Let's take a quick look. All right. Okay, it looks pretty similar in what we were just talking about, a little more bullish. As you can see, it retested these. It had enough buying pressure to come up and retest these swings up here from pre-market. Okay, and you can see that it failed though. It retested back up in here, and here's another retest back up in here into high liquidity. Here's a beautiful double top in here. Okay, Caesar, buying up in here. Look at the amount of buying up in here. We do find a big cluster of selling here. We come back up again. Now, again, this is volume delta in here, so there's buyers and sellers in here, but there's a lot of sellers in here. Doesn't mean it's all selling in here, right? If we zoom in, you'll see that it's not all selling. There's buyers in here too, right? There have to be. There has to be. Anyway, we come back up again. High liquidity again in here. Not finding much buyers. I don't see the sellers come in yet. Here's some exhaustion. Now I'm starting to see them come in. I would start to look for them to trade back down into the bottom of the range here. Okay, they do. Okay, we get a bounce. Okay, and then lower highs, lower lows. Just looking for those sellers to come in and move it. Okay, and they did. Okay, so and then we start to look again for some structural areas and transactions where it might go. we do have kind of a cluster in here. Okay, strong move up, pull back, strong move. Okay, we can draw a line here actually, and we can just outline this cluster in here basically. Right, and let's see what is the reaction down there. Okay, so it just touched it, and then it has bounced up out of it. Okay, so and then we're back up again up to here, right? So where it kind of had dropped from. All right, so I'll leave you with this, Caesar. Let's take a quick look here. High liquidity in here, was able to move price higher, and then up in here now, we're looking to see if we get that buying appetite, and we're not necessarily. I do not see a lot of buying in here. Here's one. The retest is kind of funny in here. What on the second or third leg in here? 1, 2, 3. We do find the buyers take it on, but not enough to trade through it. Okay, so we start to move lower here, and now sellers looking for the sellers here. Let's see if they can do it, and try to move it back down to maybe well, top of this range here, or this liquidity that was here previously, something like that. Okay, bigger picture. Boy, bigger picture is kind of all over the place, Caesar. I'm not really seeing too much. Yeah, I mean, we drop below here, and the liquidity is up here at this 190 level. So we've tested up there a few times, couldn't get through it. That's why we see the sellers come in, and we'll see. I really don't see too much right now. We do know though that the sellers have moved it away from that cluster, and they're starting to kind of accept lower here. Question is, are we going to find enough buyers in here to lift it back up into the 190 and then potentially break out of 190? Okay, that's a lot of kind of ifs. So this little area is kind of critical, right where price is right now. I would look for momentum in here on that buy side to try to charge into 190 and maybe through it. Okay, or if we can't get through that area, then I'm looking for our sellers down here again into previous transactions and levels in here. And that's the best I got for you. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming today. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll catch up with you on Monday. Okay, take care.